Viewer discretion is advised. Hey you all, I'm August, and I don't know about you, but I'm still feeling the need to scratch that horror itch in the spirit of the month of October. So I checked out SaDistic BlooD, because it looked like a nice dark yuri visual novel. That and the main girl with a fang may have had an influence. And oh boy, if you're coming in expecting a purely dark yuri visual novel with vampires, you are not gonna have a fun time here. Absolutely not. And today, we're going to take a look at a horror game that certainly sells itself on its extreme ero content, violent, grotesque bad endings, and that little sprinkle of yuri vampires. The vampire hunters Yuna and Shizuha are on the run, hoping to find refuge from the relentless pursuit of deadly vampire hunters. They escape to an island city only for the vampire hunters to be lying in wait for them to fall into their trap. Will they live to see the next day, or will they meet a fate worse than death? It's a simple premise, where they escape and live out their lives together as they hold hands walking towards the sunset, or suffer through the many horrific endings and endure eternal torment. You know, the usual stuff. If you haven't realized it from the warning at the beginning of this video, this visual novel is very heavy with its violent, brutal H-scene depictions of its characters, classifying it under the genre of ero-guro. For reference, SaDistic BlooD is written by Izumi Banya, known for writing the scenario for Eternal Torment, as well as writing routes for Kuro Inu and the infamous Euphoria. And if you know about these works, you should have a good idea about what to expect. There are also works he's directly responsible for directing, like Min Dead Blood and Extravaganza, but I'm 100% not showing those off. That's a big no-no. SaDistic BlooD has an intricate plot branching system where every choice you make affects how the story will progress, most of which results in a bad ending, to which there are a lot of. As the two girls drink blood from each other, their strength increases, and depending on who has the most blood at a certain point, will change what ending you will get. This can be indicated by this lovely transition scene. For a visual novel with a lot of endings, it's a very short story able to be completed in 2 to 10 hours. It's straightforward for its premise and character personalities. Unfortunately, for a visual novel that has the potential to be a longer story, its length holds it back. But you know what SaDistic BlooD doesn't hold back on? The ero-guro content. The bad endings are also straightforward, but it doesn't mince words, having a strong combination of immediate shock value and thorough detailing, as you hear the heroine scream in agony in the background. Multiple times I was flinching at the acts done to them as the girls cry out in pain as their minds and bodies got horribly desecrated. SaDistic BlooD is definitely up there for English translated ero-guro works, especially if you're looking for something short, which is ironically pretty good. Uncomfortably enough, the art adds a lot of value to these horrific scenes. It's quite well detailed. It's very weird to praise the art for depictions of genitalia, but objectively speaking, credit where credit is due, honestly. Another instance to get the uncensored version, because the extreme blood and gore is visually impressive. That, and I figured people wouldn't want to have mosaics cover 3/4 of the whole screen. There's not really much to talk about for the music, as most of the soundtrack is forgettable. Either that, or I couldn't hear it over the screams of agony and torture. I'm not too sure. And now, for the stuff I personally liked, there's a button to turn glasses on and off. 5 out of 5, visual novel, seal of approval. Anyway, speaking seriously, the visual effects really shone through here. SaDistic BlooD was very generous to show off their visual effects, with lots of blood splattering, impact flashes, and fluid sprays. Thank God 40 visual novels don't exist, otherwise I would have been covered with many questionable fluids. And now, time for a special segment of the video to give out some awards for some honorable moments. The first, most unique H-scene. I will give this one to Vampire Dissection Game Full Throttle. It's a, certainly unique and memorable scene. There's many stages to this H-scene and it's narrated very thoroughly, as the title of the H-scene says. That final CG was just wow. And the last award for the most gruesome H-scene. Oh boy, this one's a tough one. Honestly, I'll remember a good amount of the bad endings, both in a good way and a bad way. There's a lot of specific moments I had flinched at, but the Betrayed Hunter's Last Supper takes the cake, both in its cruel story context and horrific gore content. In conclusion, despite not being a fan of ero-guro and being deceived for it being a dark yuri visual novel, although that one's probably my fault, SaDistic BlooD was actually kinda decent. While it's a short story with content that could have been developed and explored more, it did a lot of things right as a ero-guro visual novel, both narratively and visually. There are some small snippets of yuri moments here and there, and despite the short length, the true ending is actually kinda cute. But if you're coming in here expecting pure Yuri, just turn back. Turn back now. Strangely enough, I actually want a sequel/prequel to learn more about these characters, and yes, even the bad guys. I'd give SaDistic BlooD a 3 out of 5. Needs more Yuri scenes, missing a threesome with all the girls, truly a missed opportunity.